Why do fevers lead to weird mental images? I had a fever dream last week. I was constructing a building and I couldn't stop it. I remember thinking in my dream that something good is happening because of the fever because I was using it to build something. This is experienced by only some people. My daughter and my ex get them. He gets so bad that he needs to not only take over-the-counter meds to bring it down, Tylenol and ibuprofen, but also use ice packs around his underarms and groin area to cool his body down. Which then helps with the hallucinations. My daughter just has vivid dreams. Please watch to make sure your fever isn't too severe that you need to be hospitalized. Keep yourself hydrated as well. I had my first ever hallucination with a fever back in September while I had COVID. I was sitting in my living room at 4 a.m. after a breathing treatment and started staring at a closed door in front of me that had coats hanging on it. Totally saw a creepy ring-light girl from how the coats were hanging. Still can't look at that door the same. The brain is a strange, fragile meatball. Ada, this was also the same night where I ended up in the ER for my symptoms. With a fever of 102.7. I'm the same way. Why I remember this so vividly, but when I was like 10. I got really sick and had a high fever. I was so sleepy and weak and thirsty. I had a little juice bottle I used to hold my water, but it was empty and I was too weak and sleepy to refill it, so I would just go back to sleep and I would dream I was wearing a poncho and a sombrero riding a donkey to the water faucet to refill my water. I would fill it up, then I'd wake up, realize my water was not in fact refilled and go back to sleep. Just to have a dream that I was swinging through a jungle riding a gorilla to the water faucet for a refill. Just to wake up and repeat the entire cycle. What a wild ride that day was. 20F How do I become assertive? Start going to the gym and find your physical and inner strength. Become confident and love yourself. It is okay to ask for what you want. Give yourself permission to do that. If you want your husband to help you, just say, "Can you please do the dishes, take out the trash," etc. If he says no, he says no. However, if you don't clearly communicate, it is going to be hard for either of you to feel fulfilled in your relationship. Let's practice. What is a good example of a time you were not assertive and it affected your husband? I would say get a hobby which involves public speaking. Or speaking in front of a group. Or maybe dancing? Creating a presence for yourself on stage or in a group might help. As others have said, practice helps. Learn what you need. You can't be assertive when you yourself are unsure. Whenever I don't know what I want or need, that's when I'm the least likely to stand up for myself. Boundaries are not about what the other person does, but what you will do. You can't yell at me when we're talking on the phone isn't a boundary. If you start yelling at me, I will hang up. Know that you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. Your boundaries are keeping you safe from the wrong people. Let them. Hi, dominatrix here. Speak clearly while holding eye contact. Keep your sentences short. No is a complete sentence. Slow down in your speech, contemplation, and gestures. Don't let anything rush you. You do not need to explain yourself. Assertiveness will sometimes be mistaken for being bitchy. The less you say, the more people will fill the space. Embrace your divine feminine. You bring life into this world. You are the fearsome beast in the night. And you can be comforting, healing, and maternal at the same time. They feel this life is not for them? 100% every day of my life. This life seems pointless, so. Absolutely. I'm just waiting to die, to be honest. Yes. Since childhood. I mean, I get that. But this is the only one you get. I'm gonna do all I can before I hit the infinite void. 1000x yes. Waiting for the day this feeling changes because I'd like to enjoy my time here, but I am losing hope a bit, lol. Yes. I go on to spite life itself. Try to imagine a good time. I haven't been bored since I was a teenager. As a type 1 diabetic that wouldn't have lived past age 13 without modern medical advances, and the struggles of managing this disease in addition to life struggles, I've definitely become familiar with such a feeling. I've had some beautiful experiences though and would like to have a lot more. Just need to widen my perspective to the bigger picture. I've found a lot of comfort in the work of Alan Watts, as well as Buddhism Taoism. Definitely not for everyone, but psychedelic experiences have had a profound impact in understanding/accepting my place in all of this. A good trip feels like going into the dungeons of the brain and doing a deep clean. I guess. But I even want TBH. I feel like it's mainly my fault because yes, I've had a lot of shitty experiences out of my control. But I've also lived kind of a privileged life if you're comparing the US to a lot of other countries. Sometimes I wish I wasn't me though. I was recently reading about being in this world but not feeling of this world. I get that. Have always felt this way. I used to disassociate a lot as a kid. Now I just live unattached. I'm not sad about it. Just some of us are built different. What's an American tradition you actually love? Kind of on topic. Growing up, my mom did a great job celebrating St. Patrick's Day. She would tell us kids that when leprechauns are startled, they poop green jelly beans. And they are very mischievous and like to topple over things like plants and objects in general. So we'd wake up to little messes around the house with jelly beans nearby. She'd do this throughout the day. And yes, she would buy bags of jelly beans and painstakingly pick out the green and yellow ones. Good times. Maybe not a tradition but, proper road trips live and in US for 2 years and pailing up on a holiday weekend and diving through 3 different states and the amount of amazing sights and scenery you get to experience in a few short days is mind-blowing. Back in the UK now and wouldn't do that here, it's weird. March Madness. College basketball is the best. Because you never know what's going to happen. Pro basketball though? They're all 9 feet tall. Or maybe slightly shorter. But superhuman. And playing under the same specs, I don't need to see that many dunks. Less than, all stated with a bunch of exaggeration and humor. Watch whatever makes you happy. March Madness makes me happy. And shit is wild this year. Small town parades. Every small town I've lived in around the country has some version of this. The annual parade where everyone comes out and lines the streets to see it. There might be floats. There might be fireworks. There might be antique cars. There might be the karate class showing off their moves. There seems to almost always be a couple guys on horseback. And little kids on their bikes with streamers. In the Midwest there's a tradition of throwing candy as you pass by. Like it's so goofy but also so wholesome. And it makes me feel like I'm part of a community.